Hello guys. So we got a new set release, and that new set release gave us some new cards to play with, specifically 3 to 4. And I have tried to build a little bit around it, and I will say this build is not final just yet, but I don't want to let you guys wait or anything. So I'll post what I did, or what I have so far. I only went to one locals with this because only one locals was the set was legal in at the time. I went undefeated for a no versus branded Sky Striker, Super Heavy, and Sword Soul. Um, yeah, there are a lot of weird things right now on which cards to play and which won't. I'll give a couple of takes on what I would probably correct about this, but I want to present at least the deck that I ran at that locals. Warning, it's kind of scuffed. Also, sorry for the table. One Zoa, one White Knight, and one Relic. That is all our ritual monsters. We don't need any more. Zoa is finally now good due to one of the cards that I showed in the beginning. Because when you summon him, you finally get a little bit of payoff for it rather than it just being there and big and annoying. Of course, we're playing a Dogmatika deck. You have to play 3 of her. Yeah, pretty self-explanatory. One Fleur-de-Lis, still good, but we got a new Dogmatika monster. We're running one Quem. Quem is very weird, as in, like, she doesn't do anything if you summon her alone, but she starts doing stuff when you like activate Branded Fusion, or if you summon her in the end phase and you already set up something. She's more of an extender. And also she's an alternative to Searching Fleur because she can do a couple of plays. And because of her, I would change a little bit of something on the ratios, which I'll get to in a second. All in all, I think this card needs way more testing to see if it is really having a place in this deck or not. But it felt pretty oppressive as soon as you got her set up against the correct decks. Other decks, like if you play against a Floodgate pile, I would just side her out. She's specifically good against combo decks. One Cartesia to profit a little bit off of the Quem. If you play Quem, I would play one Cartesia, guaranteed. One Fallen of Albas, this is something I really have to correct. I need a second one. Like, holy crap. I had a duel where it came up 7 times in a game that if I would have had a second Albas in deck, I could have won the game right there. I still won, but just think of the situations where I wouldn't have won. And if I would have had a second Albas, I could have done plays like reviving a second Albas off of Quem, searching it off of other cards, etc., etc. And the Fallen of Albas, simply as its super poly function, is absolutely disgusting if you can pull it off on the opponent's turn, which Quem allows you to do. One fake Albas, or Albion the Shrouded Dragon. This guy's upstart, and he foolishes cards that you don't want in your deck anymore. We're still running Bestials, but I had to cut a little bit due to my budget. I'm running 2 Magnamots and 1 Druswa. So, yeah, I could play more Magnamut, but in the coming formats, the next 2 decks that got added literally don't care about if you Bestial them or not, because like the Bestials are not big enough to beat over a Barone, and yeah, a purely Noir, only certain cards work against Noir. But all in all, the Bestials, even in such a small package, especially due to Brand Fusion, give you so much grind. It's they're basically infinite grinds, and I'm abusing that fact that this thing is probably the best grind engine in the deck. I would still recommend running them. Also, you can punish Mathmech players for it. I have to consent to the new format. If you know Droll is being played, you have to respect it, and you also have to consider if you want to run it yourself. And I think versus Super Heavy, if they do spell canceller stuff, you pretty much have to at least side this card. And I decided to main it. Then for the spells, triple Nadir, triple Matrix, standard in any ritual variant at least. Then one Calamity. We technically don't need any more because I don't want to brick on ritual spells. And two Macabre, simply because the second one is there for the grind. Having only one is a little bit rough. You could run one, especially now because we're running the Alvazor, but I would not recommend it because you want to abuse the fact that you have matrices to send stuff, and then you could get your grind game a little bit better. You're less vulnerable. Triple Branded Fusion. Still a great card. People still ash it, but if it doesn't get ashed, it's just so powerful because you can now finally do a. You can send Cartesia, summon Albion effect, banish Albaz and Cartesia to summon Grand Guignol, and Grand Guignol foolishes the Lubellium. The other branded card that we're playing is triple High Spirits. High Spirit specifically has the function to dump either a Titaniclad or a Grand Guignol, and also sometimes it fixes your hand. Or if you have a very bestial hard hand, you could discard a bestial and get another one, or get something else like maybe a draw one, and then you banish the one bestial to summon the other, or like resolve a Lubellion or whatever. Not too sure about this card. Every time I came to game 2 and 3, I sided out 2 copies of this, keeping only one in deck because I didn't want to brick on it. But this card was pretty much okay. It's not amazing, but not horrible either. So you might consider playing High Spirits. Branded Regained. Infinite Grind Game. One Ultimate Slayer. One Tactics. Ultimate Slayer got a new target, or 2 new targets specifically, and both of them are pretty dumb. Like Ultimate Slayer now outs a complete Sword Soul board on its own, which is pretty much retarded. And you can decide if you want to leave a monster on their field or not. Like usually you wouldn't, but yeah. So you could like literally beat 3 interruptions with one Ultimate Slayer against Sword Soul, because Sword Soul players still exist, and absolutely clapping their cheeks is quite fun. Tasking, the one of I pretty much like because you don't open too many, and against decks where it's bad against, e.g. Super Heavy, you can side it out and side it in going first. And Talents. Talents is just a good target. Traps, triple the best hand trap in the game, in my opinion, simply because it's so versatile. It just like it's a hand trap crossed with a board breaker or a board cracker, not breaker. Branded Beast and Dogmatika Punishment to round off all the traps. To play this is absolutely mandatory. Like you really need this card specifically when your hand is weaker. This card is still a monster of an interruption, as Labyrinth proves, and we can search this card. Extra deck. One Despian Luluva Lilith. If you could, play 2. Honestly, this card is... I underrated this card. It's quite amazing. like if it comes on the field, it if anything moves from the extra deck to anywhere, you can target one card and negate it and boost all your monsters by 500. And if your opponent outs it by sending it to the graveyard, in the end phase you get your follow-up, which is great. And technically, if you want to, you could get 2 summons off for Dogmatika monsters simply by having both this and Titanic Lad. And also, you can summon this quite easily against Super Heavy or against Pearly, because they all have monster effects that special summon monsters. So this card is quite nuts in addition to having probably the best branded artwork in the game. One of Malong, or whatever this guy is called in English. I only have the German one. Yeah, this the Golden Dragon Malong. He is another Slayer target, and he is very, very good. He is 2200 attack, so you can technically Nadir for Ecclesia and send him. And he is non-destructive removal in the sense that he bounces one card on the field that your opponent controls. So if you activate a Slayer against a board with a Baron plus any Synchro, or anything that cannot deal with another that is not a negate for monsters, you can send that to out the Baron and then bounce whatever else he has. You can also bounce spells and traps. Specifically, I think I've not had this matchup just yet, but you could bounce Runic Fountain with this, which turns off all the runic spells, and maybe that enables us to OTK them a little bit easier, making the matchup easier. I would definitely recommend playing those two. And as said, cut the Zulkin and cut the Crystal Wing for that, as I have cut the Diviners. Omega, I think he might be cut, but he's just very important still for grunt games. 2 Herald of the Arclight, the perfect number. For links, there's only one. Bullcephalos 2. You just need to, you know, he is just a bridge for another card, which is the next card that's coming. Garura. So if you send him, you can send Garura. Just remember that. You could technically send other stuff too, but you just send Garura. There's nothing better to send. Triple Entus. You could put a second Malong and play 2 Entus, but I would strongly recommend still playing 3 because Destruction is, in the long term, still better than removing it with a bounce, but having the option to bounce is still kind of crazy. 1 Mirror Jade, 2 Titaniclad, and 1 Albion. If you want to play a more branded lineup, you could swap the 2 Titaniclad for 2 Albion and play only 1 Titaniclad, but it's absolutely mandatory that you at least play 1. And then the last card, Grand Guinol. Grand Guinol can now not only summon Dogmatika monsters, but you also play already a target in your extra deck. So even if you don't have anything good to summon, you could summon Lulu Validith off of your Grand Guinol. And that's the main way you're bringing out your Lulu. And also, with Mirror Jade, and that is something that is going on with Quem. Quem can, in the Grand Game, she revives every time you send something from the extra deck to the graveyard, which you do like pretty much every turn, or send it from the extra deck to anywhere. You get to revive a card that mentions Fallen of Albaz, and all these dragons mention Fallen of Albaz. So you could revive a Mirror Jade multiple times, which I did 3 times against a super heavy player in one duel, which was quite crazy. The most important thing is just, of course, that you protect her. Yeah, protect the girl is wonderful. I would still say you should definitely play around. This thing was over 40. I would like to bring it down to 40 cards. But all in all, I think these cards actually might still have a place in the stack. In test hands, they feel absolutely horrible, but in the practice, they played pretty well. But I think there's still a lot of air to learn these cards, like specifically Quem. Quem is just so hard to utilize, but when you utilize her, she's just worth it. So that rounds off the deck profile. No side deck because my side deck was absolute garbage. I definitely need to play Kaijus. Um, yeah, that is the deck. I hope you guys work with this. If you have any suggestions on how to utilize Clem a little bit more, feel free to say anything. Or like if you have any ideas how you've been liking the High Spirits or the Cartesia, definitely let me know. I will listen to all the comments and take them as feedback because this deck still needs a lot of work to beat the new threats of the format. So yeah, see ya.